Today we're going to talk about Trump's latest Hail Mary play to steal the election that's even sent shockwaves through his own inner circle, how some voting systems vendors that were the targets of right-wing smear campaigns are getting back at Republicans, and my interview with Al Franken, where we discuss why Republicans are sticking by Trump after he lost, whether certain administration officials should be held accountable, and how to message more effectively moving forward. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're listening to No Lie. Remember when people suggested that Trump would finally accept the fact that he lost the election once the states certified their vote totals, and then he didn't, or that he'd accept it after the December 8th safe harbor deadline, which is the date when all state-level election challenges like recounts and audits had to be completed, and then he didn't, or that he'd accept it after the Electoral College voted on December 14th, and then he didn't. Well, now, rather than acknowledge that there's no more meaningful litigation, there's no more pushing for faithless electors, there's no more appealing to state legislatures, no more hope of alternate slates of electors, rather than acknowledge that he lost, we are up to martial law, because of course. We have Rudy Giuliani trying to have the Department of Homeland Security commandeer voting machines. We have election lawyer and conspiracy theorist Sidney Powell as special counsel to inspect those voting machines. And then we have newly pardoned felon Michael Flynn calling for the military to re-administer elections in the states that Trump lost. And this isn't just me saying, this is basically martial law, because this is Mike Flynn literally saying it outright.
He could order within the swing states, if he wanted to, he could take military capabilities and he could place them in those states and basically rerun an election in each of those states. I mean, it's not unprecedented. I mean, these people out there talking about martial law, it's like it's something that we've never done. Martial law has been instituted 64 times.
Yeah, all these snowflake libs claiming that we shouldn't have martial law. Martial law is great. Who doesn't want martial law? Here's what I find fascinating. Republicans said that Barack Obama was a dictator because he gave people health care. I'm not even kidding. A dictator because he ensured that 20 million more people would be covered through the ACA. And yet now, that same party, the party whose entire existence is predicated on the Second Amendment because you never know when we might face a tyrannical government, is openly supporting for the guy calling for martial law. I mean, the cognitive dissonance here is remarkable. Now, as for getting this budding military dictatorship off the ground, things don't seem to be going too well. Rudy Giuliani had called Ken Cuccinelli, who is the second in command at the Department of Homeland Security, to inquire about having the military seize voting machines. And obviously, Cuccinelli said no, the military does not have that authority to go in and seize voting machines from states in order to coddle this far-right conspiratorial fever dream. And that's in reference to Sidney Powell, among others, who's been claiming for months now that voting systems vendors like Dominion and Smartmatic are part of this grand conspiracy, along with Cuba, China, Venezuela, the CIA, the DOJ, Republican governors and secretaries of state to steal the election from Trump. And it sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, but at the same time, it's that much scarier because this is who has the president's ear. And so it's hard to really laugh off the ridiculousness of it all because we have the most powerful person in the world who's then getting his advice from the woman claiming that the election was stolen by Cuba, China, Venezuela, the CIA, the DOJ, and Republican officials. At some point, even a Republican Party where the Overton window is shifted so incredibly far to the right has to acknowledge that this is just off the deep end. And yet, here are the reactions we're getting from lawmakers on the right. Here's Utah Republican John Curtis.
Of Utah, Congressman, you were one of the first Republicans in Congress to acknowledge President-elect Biden's victory. I want to get your reaction to the stunning reporting out of an Oval Office meeting last night, including talk of martial law and screaming matches.
Well, let me just tell you, I've been in Congress for 3 years, and for 3 years I keep hearing all of these worst-case scenarios. We have to remember it was a conversation, not a revolution. There are far more important things in front of us, and I think we need to move on and tackle them.
But that's all you have to say to that? I mean, I understand there are far more important issues, and we had you on to talk about COVID, and we will in a second. But we can't just grow numb to incidents that would happen in a third world country, and we would have a State Department that would be alarmed about hearing these types of reports.
Listen, you're talking about a conversation that reportedly took place. We don't know anything about the details, and you just can't get me all riled up about that.
Does it bother you?
It bothers me that it's such a big deal to so many people who know nothing about the facts and know nothing about the details.
Right. Trump is just talking about a military coup, but he hasn't actually done a military coup, so what's everyone getting all riled up about? All this is a conversation among friends about a hostile military takeover. Locker room talk, am I right? Meanwhile, the Army Secretary and the Army Chief of Staff had to issue a statement saying, quote, "There is no role for the U.S. military in determining the outcome of an American election." They had to say that because someone suggested it. Someone suggested in the United States of America that declaring martial law is an option to overturn the results of a free and fair election. So I get that Republicans, who I should remind you, called Obama a dictator for passing health care. They like to pretend that Donald Trump is a toddler in a fenced-in yard, and so, yeah, you can leave him out there alone and he'll be fine. But when you have the United States Army clarifying that they're not willing to send in troops to American cities in deference to bogus fraud claims, maybe the Republican Party might want to stop deferring to this whole, well, he'll go away eventually approach, because all it's doing is giving him a permission structure to be an actual authoritarian. Now, the idea that Sidney Powell would be chosen as a special counsel to investigate the election results reportedly sent shockwaves through Trump's inner circle. And mind you, this is an inner circle that survived 4 years of this administration. Like, think about how bad of an idea something has to be to send shockwaves through this administration after 4 years of child separations, of extorting foreign countries, of coddling dictators, of undermining NATO, emboldening white supremacists, of letting a pandemic rip through this country. Trump probably could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, and I doubt his administration would blink. So yeah, for shockwaves to be sent is a testament to just how off the rails it would be for Sidney Powell to be litigating any issues. To that point, in Axios' reporting of the story, a senior administration official said, quote, "People who are concerned and nervous aren't the weak-kneed bureaucrats that we loathe. These are the people who have endured arguably more insanity and mayhem than any administration officials in history." Consider, too, that Powell's claims and conspiracies have been so absurd that Giuliani and Jenna Ellis had to release a statement distancing themselves from her. Giuliani and Ellis, neither one of whom have won a single case in this entire post-election period, saw Sidney Powell and were like, yeah, she's not with us. And now, beyond that, you have Smartmatic Technologies and Dominion Voting Systems, two voting systems vendors that are gearing up for legal action against Powell. And remember, she's used these companies as punching bags for the last 2 months and claimed that they're responsible for switching votes and that there was massive tabulation error rates and whatever else she could cook up, all of it completely unfounded. And so now both Smartmatic and Dominion have sent legal notices out to Powell, along with Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax, demanding retractions. And the Trump campaign also sent a memo out to campaign officials this weekend telling them to preserve documents related to Miss Powell and Dominion in the event of legal action against her. So yeah, again, the sowing part seemed fun. The reaping part, not so much. So let me just repeat one thing, if for nothing else than the fact that the right is hell-bent on claiming that this election was illegitimate and rigged, and because the onus is on us to make sure that we're not allowing them to just flood the zone without any pushback. So I'll say this. There has been zero evidence of widespread fraud. It wasn't proven in a single case of the 59 cases brought forward. Not even one of the judges who Trump himself appointed in Wisconsin, in Georgia, the 3rd Circuit, the 11th Circuit, or the U.S. Supreme Court has sided with him. Bill Barr's DOJ said that there was no fraud. Chris Krebs from the DHS's cybersecurity unit said there was no fraud. Republican governors and secretaries of state have said there's no fraud. Even Giuliani admitted in court that he wasn't there on claims of fraud. And finally, it's pretty hard to claim that Democrats rigged the election when you consider that Republicans actually gained seats in the House and state legislatures and didn't lose the Senate. And it would serve the right well to acknowledge these things because even though it's not convenient, it's the truth. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. To listen to my interview with Al Franken, where we discuss why Republicans are sticking by Trump after he lost, whether certain administration officials should be held accountable, and how to message more effectively moving forward, check out the interviews playlist on my YouTube channel. That's it for this episode. Talk to you next time.